Hi guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Good? Well, it's Tommy Nation Tuesday. We've got some updates. I've already did my live stream. I just decided to do my podcast, but there was some very good conversations in that, and I'm here for the people, guys. I'm here for the people. So if there's any comments that need to be said, we've got some updates. We've also got some news as well. So I'll just go through that quickly and make a few points. We'll get out of here lickety splickety, zip zap zop. What do y'all think? I like it. Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics.
Biden making history, but not in a good way. Surging gas prices and higher rents, pushing inflation to a 40-year high. Prices are up 8.5% just from a year ago, making it the fastest spike in more than 4 decades. As usual, here's the president, though, trying to pin the blame on Vlad.
Putin's invasion of Ukraine has driven up gas prices and food prices all over the world. We saw today's inflation data. 70% of the increase in prices in March came from Putin's price hike in gasoline. I'm doing everything within my power by executive orders to bring down the price and address the Putin price hike. In fact, we've already made progress since March inflation data was collected. Your family budget, your ability to fill up your tank, none of it should hinge on whether a dictator declares war and commits genocide in a half a world away. To help deal with this Putin price hike,
Nice try, Joe. But the numbers tell a very different story. Prices have been on the rise since President Biden took office, long before Putin launched his invasion. And even the left-wing media doesn't buy it. Watch.
I think there's this whole idea, the White House is just losing the messaging war. You know, if only they knew how good the job situation was. But if you ask Americans, why do you think the economy is bad? It's inflation. The voters know exactly what's going on. They're not stupid.
They're not stupid, Dana.
They're not stupid, Dana, but Fox News is stupid. Although, guys, I've looked into this, and inflation in the U.S. has risen 8.5% over the past year, quickest pace in 40 years. This is by Clyde Hughes of UPI. April 12th, the consumer price index increased 8.5% in March. Over the same time last year, as inflation continues to batter the economy. After the Federal Reserve last month increased rates. Now, Dub from Stereo and Jamar Jabari from the Voice of Change podcast, we went over this. The near record high gasoline prices, and also, not to mention, the midterms. We got a guest in here, Skeeter. Nice to see you, bro. This is war. What do you mean? What I mean is, you must be referring to my bio. Well, basically, the two-party system, the Democrats and Republicans, have literally destroyed our country. They've bailed out the banks in 48 hours. They bailed out Wall Street, the banks, and military industrial complex during the COVID relief pandemic, while giving us $1,200, $1,400, and $600. This is where the inflation is coming from. Your next comment says, inflation is what you get when the printer goes brrr. Now, you're not wrong. Why did it go brr? See, I'm always asking why. And back to your original question of what did this war mean? Well, the war is been started by this thing called neoliberalism, which is our politicians extracting the wealth from the 99% and giving that money to the 3 richest billionaires who tripled their wealth during the COVID pandemic and continue to make war on the middle class till there is no middle class. So basically, the war wasn't started by me, but this is war, and I just want to say that the war was started by the neoliberals, the neocons, and it's continuing with this inflation that, yes, the printer went burr, but Skeeter, you have to realize that the reason that printer went burr is because we don't solve any of our problems, we kick the can down the road till there's no more road, then they use these issues to be reelected on. They don't give a shit about us, except for the owners. They funnel our wealth and our resources to the 1%. They extract the wealth. Our country's being extracted one little bit at a time. And so there's got to be a war. One side's waging a war right now. And it's good to be aware of that. I plan to wage a war myself. Guys. And that's why Tommy Nation Politics exists. Now back to this, guys. The near record high gasoline prices, along with jumps in the cost of shelter and food, has sparked monthly increases 0.08 in March. And compared to the month before, that was 18.3% increase. So, Skeeter, you're not far from the truth. Like Jesus said, bro. You are not far from the kingdom of heaven. Now, do we want to go into why the Federal Reserve is the enemy of the American people? That might give me technical difficulties, guys, because we all know who's responsible for those. There's families that are trillionaires. Elon Musk is planning to be inevitably a trillionaire within 2024. But there were already established trillionaires before that, and their names I will not say because that gets me in trouble all the time, banned from YouTube. But we all know who you guys are, and we all know why you're raising the rates. We all know you want to do a great reset. We all know the Davos man, aka Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and the rest of them, led by that guy from Davos, are single-handedly taking our country and making it Amaro, North America. They're destroying the borders on purpose. They're destroying our wealth on purpose. They're funneling the wealth to the 1% on purpose. They're increasing inflation on purpose. They're raising the rates on purpose. They're robbing us on purpose. They're causing division in our country on purpose. And we should all be aware of this. So basically, what's interesting today, guys, is that the Russian Federation has now defaulted on their debt. Now, our debt is literally 500 times as big. Think about if we defaulted on our debt. They don't. That's why they continuously raise the debt ceiling. Like I said, kicking the can down the road till there's no more road. But Skeeter says flat currencies will always be abused by governments. Ultimately, the flat currency will return to its true value. I don't agree because these guys want to do a great reset. They want to do away with currency altogether, and that's what cryptocurrency might be about. Now, it started off with blockchains and all to be a good idea. Nobody could cheat with it. Nobody could tamper with it. Nobody could do nefarious things with it. But these people that have been in control for so long, they don't want to let go willingly. They're not going into the night, not quietly. So these flat currencies are abused by governments for a reason. And the reason we have a duopoly two-party system is because ultimately it's good cop, bad cop. Let's just put it in the most stringent terms possible. It's good cop, bad cop. These two parties want to extract all of our wealth. And like Davos man says, you'll own nothing and be happy. I appreciate the comments, Skeeter. Raising interest. You're kind of changing my plan, but I'm free thinking, innovative, and open-minded. I hope you subscribe. And I'm willing to go with it. Raising the interest rates, draw down the Fed's balances sheets are necessary to combat inflation. So why is that, Skeeter? Let me ask you that question. Why is raising the rates and drawing the Fed's balance sheet necessary to combat inflation? Why isn't asking the corporations to pay to not have record profits? Why isn't that part of the whole thing? It's something that Jon Stewart asked too. Balance the federal budget. That's never going to happen. Now, there's too much money in the system, sir, because we keep printing it. And also, it's not really held down by anything. The gold standard, we were off the gold standard. We had the petrodollar, which now Dub from Stereo, he came on here and he had some interesting comments about how our money is really not tied to anything now at all. Some people say resources, economics-wise. Some people say it's still the petrodollar. All I know is the fact that our deficit keeps increasing. No matter what these politicians say about cutting it, they tripled it last year. And Joe Biden, during the State of the Union address, said that he was going to cut it in half. Now, did he make a plan about how he was going to cut it in half? He didn't, because he's lying. It's really clear. And that's what I mean about the war, Skeeter, is how much is enough? How much is enough lying? How many times do you have to hear Hillary Clinton in interviews saying it's our fault that Trump was president? If only the racists, sexist, misogynists, and Russians stayed out of our elections, she'd be president. How many times do you have to hear the same lies over and over again about chemical weapons? How many times do you have to see our allies take weapons that we bought, we sold them, because we're the biggest weapons dealers in the world? How many times do you have to see our own allies take our weapons, do genocides, and then hand those same weapons back to our enemies? How many times do we have to see that? So, Skeeter says the petrodollar is in jeopardy. How long will the Saudis tolerate a falling dollar? Well, they're not tolerating anymore. They want to open their own world bank, which is why we might break ties with them. It's not because they sold our weapons to Al Qaeda, the people that attacked us in 9/11. It's not because they have sex with children, and that's part of their fucking culture. It's not because they kill gays and throw gays off balconies for fun. It's not because they don't let women drive. It's because the petrodollar is in jeopardy. And we are no longer the superpower that we thought we were, because let me tell you this, Skeeter. This has been a surreal experience to watch our country try to do regime change wars through Ukraine. We try to eliminate the Russian oligarchs' funds. Turns out Putin's not run by the Russian oligarchs. The Russian oligarchs are run by Putin. Now, this is very interesting territory that I'm about to climb in, because I'm about to say something good about Putin. But it's not because I like him. It's just because it's obvious. Because it's obvious that our politicians are only funneling the money to the wealthy to extract our wealth, and to have campaign finance contributions to keep them in office for all eternity. And that's how they work. So they thought that they could just take the Russian oligarch money, and they could maybe get Putin with that. Turns out it's not how it works over there. Because, and I'm going to say this, guys, Putin is actually a leader. Like Skeeter says, our leaders are scum. And that's being nice. Our leaders are not only scum, they're traitors. Traitors to our country. They're traitors to the Constitution. They're traitors to the founding fathers. They're traitors to the American people at large. They've constantly renewed a Patriot Act that hinders our due process and leaves us all in a cancel culture and banned and canceled atmosphere. It's the Constitution says we, the people of the United States, are supposed to promote the general welfare and ensure the domestic tranquility. It does not say anything about a Patriot Act and how you can be fucking called a terrorist and then put in Guantanamo Bay the day after without a trial. It doesn't say anything about executions. In fact, the Constitution talks about trials a lot. There's an entire branch of government called the judicial branch that is supposed to check this executive branch. And it's not happening, guys. In fact, our judicial branch is overrun by cronies from the executive branch. And the legislative branch is only asking for campaign finance contributions from the wealthy. So our democracy, our democratic republic, isn't working correctly. And thank you for saying what I'm saying is true. I really appreciate that, Skeeter, and I hope you subscribe, because like some people think that I'm crazy because I hate these two parties. Why can't you be a Democrat? Why can't you be a Republican? Well, we tried the Republicans. They invaded Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia. We tried the Democrats. They invaded Yemen, Libya. They did a coup in Libya. They turned it into a slave state. We tried these parties, guys. And then I looked at George Washington's farewell address, and I saw political parties may usurp the reins of government and carve for themselves from the very engines in which brought them to unjust dominion, their own tyranny. And I saw that, and I thought to myself, Jesus, has anybody else read George Washington's farewell address? Because the first president of the United States literally prophesized this whole thing in the first place. And here we are now, the Democrats and Republicans, two sides of the same coin, funneling the wealth, good cop, bad cop. So that's where we are now, guys. And I I mean, what I'm saying is true, guys. It's just common sense. It's not me being bitter or petty. We've tried these two parties. It's time to try something else. For some reason, we're not. And for some reason, the reason we're not is because of the division that they're causing. And we seem to be grabbing onto bandwagon mentality. That's causing the biggest increase of inflation I've ever seen in my life. It's causing other countries that would not normally be allies, it's causing them to actually become allies. It's causing our own allies to lose respect for us, like NATO. It's causing the entire world to laugh at us, and it's causing them to just tell us to sit down and shut the fuck up. You just be nice about that. So, basically, guys, the news now is that Russia has defaulted on the debt. The inflation is at a 40-year high. Joe Biden did a inflation speech today. He was pooped on by a bird. It was kind of funny. But as I continue to do this proxy war in the Ukraine, which is actually heating up, now that they've defaulted on the debt, the Russians have. Joe Biden is now using that as a way to ask for regime change war up front and in your face. He's invited the drone strike master himself, Barack Hussein Obama, back to the White House. First time back to the White House in 5 years, Barack Obama had. And they've divided a way that we are going to try to help the Ukrainians. By the way, we've also not let them have any kind of say in their own destiny. We've set up the Ukraine to be wrecked in the first place. Because if you know the history between Russia and Ukraine, you know that there's a civil war going on there right now. There's neo-Nazis in Ukraine that are being absolved into the military. There's a whole mess of things like that. But there's also the fear that NATO could expand and hurt interests for the Russians. And that's always been a fear of the Russian Federation. Since Boris Yeltsin and since Mr. Gorbachev, Senator Gorbachev teared down that wall. Why was the wall there in the first place? Again, the why. Why was the wall there in the first place? It was because they were afraid that NATO would expand. And NATO is literally a communist, left-wing hating organization that's only there to make sure that U.S. and British interests in oil and gas and natural resources can flow back to where their mother countries are from. It's a colonization of Europe. That's what NATO is. Let's just not get it twisted, guys. And even these people who swore to help us funnel the wealth and resources from the entire world are telling us that nuclear war is one step too far. That's where I'm at, guys. That's where I'm at. We sat back and watched the three richest people in the country triple their wealth. We sat back and watched Halliburton get untold government subsidies, meanwhile steal oil in Iraq and blame it on Saddam Hussein and his weapons of mass destruction. We sat back and watched our own nation and the Saudis go hand in hand into Syria, a sovereign country, blame Bashar al-Assad for chemical gas attacks when we did it as a pretext for stealing their oil. And we're still occupying a third of Syria to this day. And we sat back and watched all of this neoliberalism take place. But my guys, there's only so far greed can go. And it's about to go into a nuclear era. Is that something that we want? Well, that's something that the Republicans want. We see Lindsey Graham on television talking about how, Putin's got nukes. We've got nukes too. We could also nuke the planet. How about we give them and then some? Lindsey Graham on Sean Hannity said, we'll give them nukes and then some. I don't know what the then some is, but all I can say, guys, is nukes are one step too far from me. Once you nuke the planet, guys, nothing grows here. Things get mutated. Cancers occur. And meanwhile, a whole range of other sicknesses take place that we are not prepared for. And we don't have healthcare in this country. We're the only country without universal healthcare. So why do we want to nuke the planet, guys? We don't even have healthcare. We don't even have healthcare as a right. We don't have a living wage We don't have a legalization of marijuana, and we don't have a free country or a free society with the Patriot Act constantly being renewed by a Congress that's only interested in extracting and funneling the wealth to the 1%. So that's my dilemma. And that's why Tommy Nation Politics exists, because I saw, as everyone was staying home, I saw all of this happen. I saw it 48 hours, banks and Wall Street get bailed out. I saw Trump buffer the stock market with government money, and people still calling it a free market. I wondered to myself, how in the world can a free market exist when you're buffering it with government money? Isn't that socialism by definition? It's interesting. It's an interesting thing, guys. But now, guys, we've used this insurrection as yet another part of our divisive strategy to make sure that everything, the status quo is maintained, but also that these two parties can rule in perpetuity. And if and the end goal, guys, is really honestly that these two parties become one voice. Do you hear any dissension about the Ukraine-Russian war, or is it called propaganda? Meanwhile, the real propaganda is being flown through state TV, which is the cable news companies, a conglomerate cable news with board directors on Twitter, the Huffington Post, Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, the military-industrial complex, Wall Street, and the banks, guys. It's always going back to the military-industrial complex, Wall Street, and the banks. And that's a shame, guys. It's time we had a country that works for all of us, not the few. That's what I think. That's what Bernie Sanders wanted in the first place, too. So if you think the same way, guys, that's the war I'm talking about. You can follow us on Twitter and Discord on Tommy Nation Poll. You can always go to our website, www.tommynationpolitics.com. Or if you want to talk to us or write to us, you can always go on facebook.com/Tommy Nation Politics. And I will always write back, unless it's ad hominem attacks, in which case you're not wanting to talk in the first place. And I'm done with you. This is Tommy Nation Politics live stream, and we're always online every Tuesday, Tommy Nation Tuesday, 8 Central Standard Time to 9, maybe 8:30 sometimes, guys. I like to smoke marijuana. I like to be late sometimes. Mostly, guys, it's always Tommy Nation Tuesday here, and I appreciate y'all for watching. Free thinking, innovative, and totally open-minded. This is Tommy Nation Politics, guys. Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics. Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy. Progressive, independent-minded media. It's good to be independent-minded. It's good to be free-thinking. It's good to be innovative, guys. But even more than all that, do you know what it's good to be? Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing? Free thinking, innovative, and totally open-minded. Tommy Nation Politics. Get at us at our website, www.tommynationpolitics.com. You can also write to us, and we will respond at facebook.com/Tommy Nation Politics. Watch us on Twitch, listen to us on Discord, and check out our podcast on Anchor FM, anchor.fm/Thomas-Salisbury. Not like the steak, like King Saul had a berry with an S in the middle. Salisbury. Yes, guys, I have a funny name. But I like my first name. My first name is in the Bible. This really difficult, hard-headed guy named Thomas, they called him a doubter. He doubted a lot of stuff. But in the end, his doubts were put to rest by answers. He demanded answers, and he got answers. He got answers from the Son of God himself. Some story that it used to bug me when I was a kid, but because like they always look at me. He's a doubting Thomas, doubter, what a doubter. But they don't seem to remember the rest of the story where when Thomas said, if the Son of God is still alive, then let me see him. Let me put my hands through his nail holes. Let me see the nail holes where they, nailed him to the cross. He got to do that because he asked. None of the other disciples asked. Some people think that it's not good. It's troublesome. It just breaks the conventional wisdom and the social norms to ask for evidence, to wonder why, to question authority. But I don't think Jesus thought that out was bad. In fact, he got the answers that he was seeking. Thomas did. And that's why, guys, if you're someone who doesn't bend to the will of conventional wisdom, someone who rebels, someone who questions authority, who doesn't just go along with the conventional wisdom and the bandwagon mentality, if you're like that, then you're in the right place. This is Tommy from Tommy Nation Politics. And we're going to be doing some free-thinking, innovative, and totally open-minded critical thinking today. And with that, let's get started. What do you think? Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics. Hello. Guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics, and I'm here to answer some questions. Some questions that the mainstream media asserted in the New York Times, the Washington Post, and most recently, of course, the Associated Press. The questions that seem to be asked of the American people, the president himself, and the January 6th committee are, how did a presidential rally, how did that turn into a Capitol rampage? And also, should Supreme Court Judge Clarence Thomas, should he resign from the bench? Should he recuse himself from all January 6th cases? These are interesting questions that the mainstream media is posing. These are very relevant to the promoting of the general welfare, securing the blessings of liberty to our posterity. This is important. This is absolutely important to the growing, maturing, and strengthening of our country and the legacy of a free people that out of tyranny took hold of their destiny and manifested a democratic republic, one of its kind, in which all men were created equal and had inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The mainstream media asks these questions because they are the pillars of our social construct. They are the gatekeepers. They are the dreamers of dreams. They are the holders of the accountable keys. They direct justice, for they know that their fourth wall is a great pillar in our democratic republic. Oh, but it was once. But it will never be again. And why is that, guys? Well, there's a few reasons. One is our political party system is a duopoly political party system that's not supposed to exist. We were not supposed to have political parties, especially not two. One to be the one that challenges the other that's in power, and the other to maintain the status quo, in which nothing will fundamentally change. We were supposed to have a government that works for all of us, by the people, for the people. E pluribus unum, working together for the common good. And the media would hold that government accountable and explain and inform the public of what the government was doing so that the people could then act. And the consequences would be these civil servants would be escorted out of freedom's halls. The people's house no more. They would be extinguished. They would be unelected. They would be put out of office. But with these two political parties, there seems to be one rah rah sis boom bah, the other crazy trying to hold on and maintain the status quo. And the media, instead of holding these two parties accountable, they seem to have latched on to the profiteering campaign finance contributions, the conglomerate business uh, atmosphere, as it were, the economic prosperity of their own board of directors. And they are no longer the guardians of the accountability of our government. And with that, there are consequences. There are consequences to so many of our actions. Lawat. Yeah, there are consequences to so many of our actions, guys. One hand washes the other. Manus manam lawat. And the media, which was once a guardian and accountable officer that held together, held firm our governmental apparatus, is now a manufacturer of consent to the mainstream conventional wisdom and social norms. It is now a lapdog of the military industrial complex, Wall Street, the banks, and these duopoly political parties that are an abomination to our country and to our principles and values. I'll let Julian Assange explain this.
Hopeful things that I've discovered. One of the hopeful things that I've discovered is that nearly every war that has started in the past 50 years has been a result of media lies. The media could have stopped it if they had searched deep enough, if they hadn't reprinted government propaganda, they could have stopped it. But what does that mean? Well, that means basically populations don't like wars. And populations have to be fooled into wars. Populations don't willingly and with open eyes go into a war. So if we have a good media environment, then we'll also have a peaceful environment.
And that brings us to 2022. when the mainstream media is asking you not how can the income inequality cease to exist and all men start to be created and governed equally due to their life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not how can we decide to become stronger and work together for the common good. But their questions that they're posturing to the entire nation is how did this presidential rally before January 6th, how did that turn into a Capitol rampage? I think we're starting to realize the answer to that. While some of you might think it was the Republicans and Trump doing a coup d'etat, I would like to pose an argument that would assert that this insurrection has started long before the rally at Capitol Hill and the rampage that started thereafter. And should Justice Clarence Thomas recuse himself? Well, this is funny, guys, because I was wondering why I'm not really following along with all of this bandwagon mentality, circus, political theater, do nothing, know nothing, is nothing garbage that the media feeds you to make you forget about the inflation that's starving your families, that's keeping you poor, that's sucking you dry. They don't want you to think about that. They don't want you to think about who's causing it. These corporations that won't give up record profits. They won't stop selling weapons, jets, and other engines of death to our military to keep so that we can keep a endless war brewing, mixing until the only inevitable conclusion to our endless war is a nuclear holocaust. They don't want you to think about the fact that they've sanctioned these Russian oligarchs, but these American oligarchs have tripled their wealth, and they got bailouts to boot. You know what winner and loser was picked in the 2008 bailouts? There was Tesla. That was one of the winners and losers that was picked by Barack Obama, and he said that the profits or whatever, that would end up going right back to the taxpayer. What happened was it went right back to Tesla. And then it went to all of the other companies that were giving campaign finance contributions to our politicians. And they got their money and more in every COVID relief bill, and every CARES Act, and every PPP loan, and every auto bailout, bank bailout, Wall Street bailout. They've gotten their money and then some. They've gotten our money. They've robbed us. They've robbed us dry. And they've taken our bones and picked their teeth with them. And while this inflation is, they say, is being caused by Joe Biden, it's not. It's these two parties kicking the can down the road until there's no more road. It's these two parties not giving a shit about the deficit, not giving a shit about us, not giving a shit about the Constitution or the principles and values that are enshrined in the Constitution. And that is the reason, guys, why I don't give a shit about this insurrection. If anything, this insurrection should not have been about Trump. It should have been about getting ourselves back on the road to manifest destiny. It wasn't. It was a shameful idolatry. Wishing that some fucking game show salesman from television would be president for 4 more years. Instead of you having life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What you want more than that is you want a game show host to be president for 4 more years. It's so sad why we insurrected, guys, but the fact that we did gives me hope. What we did it about makes me disgusted. So that's my stance on the insurrection. But there's more, guys, because life is nuanced. And I find it hilarious that this conversation took place right after Joe Biden warmongered about regime change in Warsaw. After he got back, he was asked some questions to which he didn't know the answers to because he wasn't paying attention, because he doesn't give a shit.
There were reports about the wife of Justice Thomas and texts that she had with former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Should Justice Thomas recuse himself from any cases involving the January 6th insurrection or former President Trump at this point?
I leave that to two entities.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, ask the second question.
No, two entities. Go ahead, sorry.
One, the January 6th committee, and two, the Justice Department. That's their judgment, not mine to make.
So on Justice Thomas recusing, you don't think he should, or?
I said that. I told you, those things get into legal issues. That, in fact, I told you I would not tell the Justice Department what position to take or not take. And I'm not going to instruct the Congress either.
And did you get any chance to watch much of the Judiciary Committee
I
hearings
didn't get a
last
chance
week?
to see any of it, unfortunately.
The fact that Republicans were questioning Judge Jackson on matters like former sentences related to child pornography cases or the definition of a woman, does that, as the former chairman of the Judiciary Committee, make sense to you?
Look, this is one of the most qualified nominees ever nominated for the Supreme Court in every respect, in terms of her disposition, her intellectual capacity, her experience and background, serving on three additional courts, a woman who is totally, thoroughly qualified, and will be a great addition to the court in my opinion.
Her disposition and intellectual capacity. She's totally qualified on her disposition and her intellectual capacity, meaning that she's a black woman, and she's a smart black woman. Black women, black women, black women. Don't you like being mocked? Don't you just like being fucking imitated on? Don't you just like having your fucking gender fucking platformed while you're fucking poor and can't afford gasoline, guys? It's awesome. So, these guys asked Joe Biden, who wasn't paying attention, did you see the confirmation? He didn't see the confirmation. He doesn't give a shit. They still asked him about the confirmation, even though he didn't see it. What a media. It's so interesting, guys. And then they asked this guy who was last in his law class. They finished last in his law class, and not only that, but he lied and plagiarized all of his grades just so he could make himself look good in the first presidential campaign, which he was kicked out of because he lied and was plagiarizing. They asked this guy a legal question about Judge Clarence Thomas. Now, kudos to Joe Biden for just fucking saying, I don't know. This is a legal question. I'm leaving it up to the legal people because I'm an idiot that lies. And I got here by being a complete puppet of the rich. So why would you ask me this question? I don't know anything about the law. In fact, I break it all the time. That. It's hilarious, guys. So, let's just investigate this January 6th whole thing with Gina Thomas, shall we?